Welcome to Paranormal Triage, Pursuing the Spiritual Awakening podcast.
Hey, welcome. This is Paranormal Triage. I'm Brenda.
Hey, and I'm Ryan. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal Triage.
We got some scratching going on.
Yeah, I'll fix it. It's our headphones. No big deal. All right. So, we got a pretty good episode today. I'm super excited about it because, I like the content that these guys put out. They're super experienced. I like the fact that they are, true to, finding the real truth about stuff and fellow first responder types. So I'm looking forward to our conversation with them. But
yeah,
anyway,
we're always trying to find other people that are in the first responder world because we get a lot of questions from other people, and it's kind of hard to base our own opinions just off us. It's kind of nice to hear what other people go through and what other people, what kind of questions other people ask them. That's good. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll keep working on it.
So it's always nice to share stories and find out what other people experience. We have some friends that have been in the military. They haven't been on our show yet, but we're all on fire and we're pretty busy because we live in California, and we're always burning down. So someday we hope to get him on and talk about his military experience.
Yes, we will. We'll get him on.
Yeah.
Dan, if you're out there, we're talking about you.
Yep.
We'll get you on, Dan.
So we have Chris and John from Into the Veil. They got about 20 years, I think, experience between the two of them of their career and their investigating. It sounds like they came together at a point where they may have been in an investigation, met there, and then they kind of teamed up and started doing that. But we'll confirm that with them.
Yeah, that's what we got out of some of the stuff. But we're gonna ask them firsthand, so it'll be cool.
All right. Well, we're gonna play a little intro and then we'll bring them on. All right.
Into the Veil Paranormal with John and Chris, one of Oklahoma's top paranormal investigative teams in search of answers behind the strange, unexplained, and supernatural, while exploring abandoned, dark, and mysterious places filled with forgotten history.
Add everybody back here. There we go. All right. I'm always challenging this. Hey, John. Hey, Chris. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. Trying to fix a little bit of my static audio stuff. I think I got broken headphones, but we're just gonna call an audible and go with it. So yeah, welcome guys. I'm super excited to have you on just because one, super experienced, ethical investigators with a lot of cool things that you've done in your past, and then your previous lives before investigating, being military and law enforcement, kind of first responder realm. We can connect to that because we are first responders. I was not military, but 26 years in the fire, and she's 13 something plus in EMS
About that, yeah.
so far. So we kind of connect with that a little bit with what you guys are doing. So we'll get into that.
I'm also a career hairstylist, so I can save your life and make you look good all the time. So,
All right. Right on.
Yeah, cool. All right. So I've got some notes here about what's going on with you guys. So, we try to do, or in the past, we've done like the tell me about yourself, but sometimes that can be a little bit boring. So, Chris, I want to start with, you have U.S. Army, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So before we get into the paranormal stuff, what did you do? I'm going to try to connect some stuff here. So what did you do in the military? What was your job?
So I was a 88 Mike. I was a driver, and did my 6 years and got out. Spent one tour in Iraq. And
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
Miss my buddies.
a lot of people say, like to say thank you for your service. And I've heard from other veterans, some that I work with closely. My partner was a Marine Corps veteran. He said, I didn't like to hear when people said thank you for your service. So I like to say thank you for your sacrifice. Because, that's 6 years of your life and you put some time in, deploying stuff. So thank you for sacrificing your time for our country. So I appreciate that very much.
It's my pleasure, guys. I signed the line. It was fun. It was definitely fun.
Cool. All right. So John, 12 years law enforcement. Is that the case?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Started out here in Oklahoma, went out to Nevada, got a bigger start in Las Vegas, and then transferred back here to Tulsa and rock and rolled till they had a big layoff, and that led into other careers, which led into this.
Yeah.
I think COVID did that to a lot of people, layoffs and COVID. And that's kind of during COVID, that's how we kind of got into this. So had a lot of downtime.
Yeah. And I can relate because when you work in public safety, when it's government funded, I mean, you're kind of at the whim of, really municipalities and how they decide to spend their money or not spend their money. So that, it kind of sucks. But
it's just
did you just do
monopoly of it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Did you do primarily just like patrol work, or did you do any detective investigating? What kind of in that 12 years?
No, just primarily just a beat cop. Working the streets. Took about a year and a half off the streets when I came back to Tulsa. We had taken over the jail. It was ran by a private security company, and then the county sheriff's department. Before I went back to the city, we took over the jail. So I spent about a year and a half in jail, and that was freaky. That was wild.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
There's like the paranormal stuff that goes inside those jails. It's just, but at the time, you're a police officer, so you're trying to think, is this real? What, you're trying to, justify what you're seeing or hearing. And then, the stories that happens in some of these cells and the bad things that's happened, and people have lost their lives and things like that. And there's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's times when I'm thinking back on calls that I've been on, and it's like, absolutely 100%. There was paranormal stuff happening, and I've told the stories before, but it's like, yeah, it's retrospect. When you think back, like for sure that was paranormal. Now I start to see a little bit more like in real time. Right.
It gets weird. I mean, I've had some crazy instances on duty. There's a story that Chris likes me to tell. Ran into, I think it was more like an angelic encounter is what I think it was. It was at ORU Hospital here in Tulsa, and it was during a big ice storm of 2007. And I go assist the security guards at this building to try to find this lady. And by the time we find her, I have a hold of her arm. I'm telling her, like, ma'am, you can't be here. You're going to be trespassed. I can give you a ride down to the John 3:16 mission where they've got places for you to stay. It's cold outside. So while I'm talking to her, I look back over to the security officer, and we look back, and she's just gone. Well, the lady that's running their master control for that security company in that building, Lenora Jackson is this lady's name. This incident was so crazy that I'll never forget these people's first and last names. And wow. She's hollering, come back to master control. So we go back, and she's reviewing the film, and you see me and Farrell walking down, all these hallways with their hands guiding nothing. The lady was never there, but we were talking to her, physically holding her, escorting her out the building.
Wow.
And
that's crazy. So they have video footage of you basically just walking nobody.
Yeah. It's, trying to be, and at that time, I think I was like 25, 26, something like that. So being a young kid trying to explain something like that, nobody believed that.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a thought in that moment, or even, just a couple days after that moment, that it may have been, paranormal or spiritual or angelic or whatever?
Oh, immediately that night, because that wasn't the only instance that I had in that building. I had a couple other little things that go, in that building. They used to have a funeral home inside of Cityplex Towers, and it was on the 36th floor. So trying to go get paperwork and going up there, you know, it's just a lot of weird things. The city morgue used to be there, so they've got a pretty good sized body holding inside that building. And of course, it's still an active heart hospital, so people still pass away daily or weekly. You know, hope not, but you know, just the reality of it. You know, there's a lot of sadness, a lot of energy trapped inside those halls of that building.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, did you ever experiencing anything paranormal while on deployment? I've had some friends of mine that did deployment, and they have a lot of kind of strange paranormal-esque type stories. You ever experience anything overseas?
Not really. At that point in time, I was 22, so more like a juvenile overseas. We had a lot of good times, but I didn't really pay too much to that kind of stuff when I was over there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Huh.
So are you, Chris, I guess this would be you. Are you still co-hosting the Dead Capital Paranormal and doing tours?
Unfortunately not. The building that we were using for that one, the owner had sold, and now the building that we were hosting it in is now like a online school for kids.
Okay. Wow.
So, and then that owner actually has a haunt that's on the north side of town here in Guthrie. That's like the 9th ranked in the nation.
Wow.
I'm currently trying to work on getting us in there at some point because he's told me about some happenings throughout the haunt as the season goes on, and they just intensify until haunt season's over. So, yep. That's something that I would love to get back into. I mean, it was a great time.
Yeah, we kind of have some a little bit in common because you did a little bit of work with Ghost Adventures and did you actually do some investigating for them, or did you just do research for them?
I did some evidence review with them while they were here. And then, that was the Samaritan Cult House. And then while they were in town, I was also kind of like I don't really know what you call it, kind of like an advisor for the Stone Lion Inn while they were here.
Okay.
And
yeah, I had to go
kinda
back
looked
and
over
watch
some
those last night just because I wanted to remember what they were. So
Yeah.
we were actually on Ghost Adventures, so they investigated
cool.
our house at one point in time a couple years ago. So it was interesting. So
Yeah, our house is pretty active. It kind of goes ebbs and flows. But yeah, our house is pretty active. So they did a House Calls episode
Okay.
at our house. We don't like to make it that like the primary thing that we talk about, but we have that connection because we both kind of experienced the Ghost Adventures, thing.
Right.
Well, don't let Chris downplay it. Chris needs to tell you he is the reason why Ghost Adventures came and investigated those locations, because he investigated them first. And there was Chris, you just tell the story. It's your story, dude. I love this story.
Yeah, so the jail that we went in was actually my first location that we investigated, and we had been in there, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times, and the newspaper had gotten word at some point that we had gotten in contact with a murder victim not there. So the whole premise around the Samaritan Cult was a gentleman had came down here from Chicago. His name was Alan Ross, and wanted to find out what this cult was all about. The weekend of the Oklahoma City bombing, this whole group loaded up and left and went to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And they couldn't find out what happened to Alan, didn't know where Alan went. He had stopped communicating with family. He had one of his best friends start making a video, which you can find on YouTube. It's called Missing Alan. And they had cops went and checked the house, didn't find anything. They went back and checked it a second time, and his sneakers were sticking out of the crawl space in the house. And we had come in contact with him while we were at the jail and made front page of the newspaper here in town.
Wow. So that kind of work that you put in to that place is what kind of drew the attraction of Ghost Inventors coming into there and doing an episode. That's pretty cool. That's good. That's awesome. That's cool because it's like your hard work paid off. Like, everyone, that's good. From investigators, it's like it's nice to be recognized that way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
and I do everything that I can to try and keep his spirit alive because not a lot of people have heard his story. We actually are working in partnership with a curiosity shop in Chandler, Oklahoma that's called Cadence Curiosities. And we've went and retrieved some relics from this prison. And like he's got it on display in his museum with our name and stuff on it, and was gracious enough to where we're now partnered with him and our name's on the front of his building. So,
wow.
That's really cool. I like museums. We actually went to Zach Bagans Museum and we did their little nighttime investigation there, which was super interesting. We had a little bit of issue with what's that thing called?
Well, which room? There was several. Kevorkian's van?
No, the one with the...
Oh, the Divx box.
The Divx box. I'm pretty sure I came home with an attachment. Because, that was kind of in the infancy of us doing this. And the REM pod kept going off every time we walked in there. And it was just a weird feeling. And we experienced a few other things in there. But, yeah, when I got home, a couple weeks later, it just seemed like... I don't know if it was just the house because we had acquired some ashes in my house. I had a bunch of family members pass away and I became a collector of ashes. So I don't know if it was the combination of having ashes in our house and going to that museum and maybe bringing something home. But it was a little weird for a little while. So
yeah, it was a little strange for a while.
I've never been to that museum. Do you think it's just the thought of knowing that there's haunted objects in there or spooky objects, or can you really feel something?
So, okay, when we went to the museum, we were very, very green, greenhorns in the paranormal realm of investigating, right? We had never really investigated anything at that point. We were just kind of like fans of the show, and we were celebrating an anniversary. It's like, let's go to the museum. It'd be cool, right? There was parts of it that I thought I was going to feel things and experience things that I didn't feel or experience anything. And there was other parts of the museum that you wouldn't think, it's kind of like nonchalant. You wouldn't think there'd be anything in there because it's very downplayed. And then that's where we experienced stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I did not expect to have the experience that we had. So it was a genuine experience. And, we were standing in the Kevorkian room that he has in the daytime tour. And I got poked in the back. And that was like the first time I've ever had any kind of paranormal experience, well, to that extent, right? Yeah. I've had some previous ones that was before, looking back in my life, go, okay, that was paranormal. But actually like recognizing it real time, that happened. During the daytime was a little like, holy cow. Was it in my head? I mean, it could have been, right? But I felt, I'm not a very thin person. So I could feel the fat poked in the back. Like, there's no doubt that I got touched, right? It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't bad. It was just a light touch. Like, okay, it happened. And that was standing next to Kevorkian's van, right? I mean,
that's awesome. That's so cool.
What it is, right? You can never tell if it was him or not him or what, right? But, and then, they have some things in a basement there that you would think, would be really scary. There's some evil, markings on the ground and kind of satanic things that are on display.
Well, they used to do rituals in the basement of that house a long, long time ago. So the pentagram on the floor is still there.
Yeah, from the person who painted it in the 1930s or something like that.
Yeah. So, but I'm an empath and I'm kind of new to being an empath. So at that point I was very new. I didn't even really know what that meant yet. So I didn't feel anything down there. We were scared to go down there because it's a pentagram and, it's devil worshiping. And it was a little bit scary, but yeah, there was nothing down there. It was nothing.
But, and I didn't feel scared down there at all. Right. It was like nothing. But then you walk down a simple hallway and it's an old house, 1900s, but you're just walking down a simple hallway and you hear screams. You're like, what the heck? Right. So yes, the experiences we had were genuine. I don't think it was, brought up by the hype of anything.
No.
And they're actually really good at kind of downplaying their thing when people come in to do their nighttime investigation, quote unquote, tour. Right? It's very simple, spirit box and a K2. That's all you can really have in there. There's no cameras. There's none of that kind of stuff. They don't allow any of it. So it's very kind of pure, and you just kind of let you go off and do your thing. And there's some guides and stuff that just kind of post up in a corner, just make sure everybody's okay. They don't get involved. They don't help you. They don't do anything. They're just kind of there to overwatch to make sure no one gets hurt. So it's very relaxed, and
I just really
was
like
an experience.
museums. I like museums and cemeteries. There's just a lot of history, just a lot of stuff,
yeah.
a lot of energy,
Oh yeah.
So I really enjoy stuff like that. So
I agree with you. I love walking through cemeteries just to look at the dates, because if you know history and you look at the dates that these people lived, you have a general idea of what they faced, maybe the sicknesses or what history they seen made, whether it be cars being invented, televisions, cameras, whatever, going from horseback to cars, just airplanes, It's just really neat to walk through there and see the different dates of history.
Yeah.
We spent all day last Sunday, basically driving around northern Oklahoma, just basically visiting cemeteries and reliving a whole part of Oklahoma history.
Yeah.
It was a pretty awesome little trip.
So would you guys more classify yourselves as like, we all want to know where we go when we kick the bucket. But when we do this all started because of, personal deaths in our family. So we really wanted to know what all this meant, but we also wanted to focus on history to keep it alive. We were actually trying to go back to the 1700s, but that's really hard to do. I mean, I think you have to go to big government libraries in order to go that far back, or wherever they put that stuff. But that was really hard. So are you guys a little bit of both? Do you focus on one topic more than the other, or does it just kind of mesh together for you?
I think for me, it kind of meshes kind of a little bit together. My question more or less is, how are they able to do this? If you've crossed over, that I'm asking that almost every episode that we have out. It's like, how are you able to do this? How can you hear me? How can you see me? And I know, we've got the SB7, different spirit box and things like that, different equipment that we use, several different devices that we use. And, it's just trying to get an answer to come through. So once you can start communicating and they can answer you, then you can start, asking, okay, so you see me through light, or you can see, I've asked before, I've got several responses at different locations. How are you able to move these objects? Mm-hmm. And I hear through thought. That's what I get on the SB7. I'm thinking, okay, so is it like a thought process? I mean, there's something that I don't know. That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to figure out how are they able to, how are they, and then it kind of leads into what you were saying, like what happens after you die, is there is there a veil, that you can see through?
Yeah. I mean, and for both of you, what's kind of your spiritual, thought process into, do you have a religious belief? Do you have like any personal beliefs on where we go, or, energy dimensions, anything like that?
Myself, I'm a big Christian, I think when you die that, you're going to have your judgment, just like a regular Christian belief, but I don't think that you just automatically go to heaven right there. A lot of people don't really get in the word of God and realize that there's a place called Abraham's bosom, and you can't go to heaven yet because Christ hasn't came back to earth yet for the final battle. So heaven's there, but nobody's, we haven't made it there. I mean, I think they're like a little group, and they're just in their own special place until Christ makes his return, and then you get to go to heaven. So if they are there, is that a purgatory? Mm-hmm. Are they able to still see us? There's a lot of unanswered questions. We're just men. We're not that smart, but we're getting it figured out.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just trying to figure out exactly, every location that we go in, it's kind of like the first thought process is it intelligent, or is it something that's just basically been recorded on the walls and in the stone that's just replaying events through history. And then if it's something that is basically stuck in an in-between on whatever the in-between is, does it want help to pass over to the other side? Is it something that's happy where it's at? If it's problematic for whoever it is that's involved, and try and help them get out of the situation and cleanse whatever it is, and try and help them the most that I can. But yeah, that's kind of my whole thought process is, why are you here? And
Yeah.
Now, did either one of you have any experiences or anything when you're younger, in your younger years, like when you were kids?
I did not.
I had a couple. My grandfather was a preacher, and
Okay.
he just recently passed a couple months back. And so being a little kid and growing up around him, and he's basically who raised me, and going to different funeral homes or go to these churches, and the bodies are going to be there, at least 30, 40 minutes before, maybe an hour or two before the congregation shows up for the funeral, and just weird sounds. But then, as an adult, I'm trying to think, as a kid, was my mind just playing tricks on me? But there's things I've seen as a kid that I know were real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will ever believe, because you're just a child. But it's one of those things. It's like, had it happen, and just keep chasing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys seem like you pretty similar thought process with stuff. So how did you originally connect and actually start, what you got going on now?
It's kind of dumb luck.
Awesome.
At the point in time, there was an event at the Publishing Museum that we have here in town. So Guthrie at one point was the state capital of Oklahoma, and then thieves come in the middle of the night and stole the state seal, took it to Oklahoma City, and then Oklahoma City became the capital of Oklahoma. So this museum, they just started putting on paranormal events to raise money to try and restore it, because like the top 2 floors are in pretty rough shape. And one of our mutual friends had sent me a message, says, hey, this place is having a paranormal thing. If you want to come, you're more than welcome to come. And I was at the point where I was like, I don't know if I really want to go or not, because my first team that I had more or less flaked out on me and couldn't commit, and I was running around doing everything solo. And I finally just said screw it and showed up, and I ended up there, and then Gina introduced me to John, and I'll let John tell his deal, but it's
His
pretty
version.
close.
Let's hear your version. Let's get the real story here.
I'm just a paid actor. I'm joking. No, it's kind of the similar. I had even on the YouTube channel, Into the Veil, it was previously called Freakmore Paranormals. My last name is Creekmore, so I made fun of my last name with Freakmore, and I thought, it stuck. Had a team that I tried to put together, and one of the members just didn't work out. Just a lot of drama behind the scenes, and is like kind of like what Chris saying. I was doing all the editing, and just looking up the locations, trying to get the history on it. Just all the book work, and the other gentlemen just would rather go out and party and do other things. And so I was like, man, I had this girlfriend that I was engaged to at the time, and was going to be going out to Cottonwood, Arizona. And for this weekend, that same weekend I met Chris, it was supposed to spend the weekend with her. Well, we ended up going through a breakup. So I had to get a hold of this mutual friend that Chris and I know that put on this haunt, this haunt hunt, I guess you can say, at the Publishing Museum. Well, anyway, call her up, and I'm like, hey, listen, went through this breakup. Really don't feel like doing this. I think this is going to be my last one, for filming on YouTube. I thought, well, I'll just do it for fun. And so went there and walking around. I was cutting my opening, and I kept seeing this white SUV, and see this big Viking dude with this big beard sitting in this car, and and I've got my camera, and I'm even looking in my viewfinder or my view screen, and I could still see he's behind me, and I'm thinking, dude, am I about to get jacked? I was like, who is this guy in this car? And then he gets out, and I was like, good God, he's huge. I was like, I hope he's here to investigate. And then we go inside, and of course, I was running solo, he was running solo, and Gina introduced us, and it's kind of one of those things like, yo, you want to go investigate? Yeah, let's do it. And then ever since then, we haven't been apart.
So it's kind of like love at first sight then.
Right.
Yeah, definitely bromance. Definitely bromance.
So you guys come together. How do you guys pick your locations? Do you have certain places you guys want to go or feel like you need to go, or how do you guys pick your locations?
It's just sporadic. We want to go everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just
like everybody, I guess.
We want to do them all, but we definitely want to find stuff that nobody's been to,
Yeah.
and bring something new to the table. Is this the same stuff, the same locations, whether it be the Sally House or one of the penitentiaries or an asylum? And speaking of Sally House, that one drops this week. So we just got back from there probably about a month and a half ago. But normally Chris will be like, hey, I've heard this place, so let's go check it out. Or I found this place when I'm just driving. I'm like, dude, let's do it.
Yeah. So we don't have all the exciting places that you guys get to go to over and over again. So we pick a lot of local places here that has a lot of history. We're in the Gold Rush area, where the Gold Rush was big, and Native Americans and stuff like that. So a lot of cowboys.
Right.
So right. we have those kind of locations that actually turn out to be really interesting. And we learn a lot about the area we live in, and we're always shocked by something. It's like, what? I didn't know that. So what's your scariest investigation? What was your first investigation, or, which ones stand out the most to you that makes you guys keep wanting to truck forward?
So the first investigation was probably my most memorable one, just because of the stuff that happened. Probably the spookiest one was the first time we did the Stone Line Inn. Being just a team of 3 and going in there was just, at some points it almost felt overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because it was like, we got all the lights off in the house. Well, there's one chandelier that is over the main staircase that we couldn't find a light switch for. So Matt's up there and he's unscrewing the light bulbs. Well, he hits the last light bulb and it was like an energy switch just flipped and everything just went completely negative in the house.
Wow.
And the rest of the night, it was like pins and needles through every room that we went in. And I've got a set of pictures on my phone from the second floor landing. And it's like your first picture, you can see these 2 pictures that are on the wall. And then you can see the railing. There's nothing in it. Second picture, you've got this black blob that's in the mirror. And then your third picture, actually, you can make out head and shoulders and where it should be on the wall, but it's not on the wall. It's only in the mirror. And then the top floor, which is where the Houghton's little girl was supposed to be, like, we get random smells of cigar smoke. And on our little spirit box thing, we got like 3 or 4 bars of organ music, which was super weird. And then one of my investigators, like, he had shaved his head that night, and during this investigation he had grown stubble. It was that wild.
Wow. Was it gray or just stubble?
Just stubble.
That's funny. Music's kind of funny because we went to this place by us. It was like, they call it the Monolith, and it's where they made gravel to build the dam that's in our town. And when we were in there, we got this old time music that was fitting for that time. And it was just for a second. Like you said, it was only like 2 or 3 bars of music, but you're like, that's not normal.
No.
That you don't hear that on the radio. So it was really interesting. I think that's the first time we ever got music like that. Yeah. I think the only time.
Yeah, it was really interesting because they built that dam, like, they finished it like right before we went into World War II. Right. So the music we got was like that that era of like, the boys are getting ready to ship off,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's what we were getting. And it's like, that is not going to be on the radio around here. I mean, it's
Right.
Wow.
yeah.
That was kind of what
so
threw us
it's
for a
cool.
loop, because you don't have any radio stations with like organ music,
Yeah.
which
No.
is, and we're sitting there going, are we really hearing this? Like, and on top of that, you're sweeping so many stations, the possibility of anything coming together that sounds like music is ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah,
it
that's
was
pretty
pretty
cool.
wild.
Yeah. What about you? Anything jump out to you, John?
Oh, well, my first big investigation was at the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and that was way before Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters went out there and filmed their episodes, way before it got popular. I wish I would just had my YouTube back then and would
Yeah.
have filmed it and
Yeah,
had
right.
a little head jump on the game,
How'd we all do, right?
Right. Yeah, I had no idea that YouTube was going to be the future of television, and that's why we're all doing it. It's great. It's great entertainment. It's free. All you have to do is
Yeah.
pay for your internet, and you get to watch
Yeah.
stuff like all this,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one, first major one. The scariest, man, there's I still have to say the Garnett House. There's a house in Garnett, Kansas called the 1858 Garnett House, which that episode's on YouTube. It's with my old team, but we got dolls thrown at us, chairs falling over at us. I get physically scratched on camera while I'm doing a TikTok live. And it's just, it was that house is real. It's insane. Like, that place is weird.
So what is
And
the
it's not-
history of that house? It's called the Garnett House?
The Garnett House. So 1858 is when it was built. The gentleman that built it had built it for his wife, and the house sets at an angle. So when you get there, of course, I'm just, I'm still a skeptic on a lot of this. That's why we investigate, try to figure out what's going on. But the house sets at an angle. So I'm thinking, okay, there's, red flag number one. But the reason why it's set at an angle, that I think it was the year after the house was built, or maybe it was the year of the house, there was a big windstorm that came through Kansas and shifted that house. So the guy that was building it for his wife, she was like, hey, I don't want the house. I think it looks unsturdy now. It's leaning. And so they never moved into it. Well, he decided to go ahead and open the house as a hotel. On public record, they've got a record of like Bat Masterson has stayed there, Harry Houdini, Belle Starr,
Okay.
Jesse James, Frank James, Wild Bill Hickok. I mean, some pretty good sized names throughout history. The house actually ran as a doctor's office all the way up to 2001 or 2002, I believe.
Okay.
And so it was a hotel, and during the hotel there was a couple bad murders that had happened in there, a couple bad homicides, I should say. One dismemberment outside the door. And let me backtrack a little bit. What's really cool is that the house sets about a block over from the county courthouse, so you can literally walk just around the police department and get all your information about this house.
Oh, wow.
So they use it as a hotel, then it gets used as a house again throughout like the 50s and 60s, and then back into a doctor's office all the way up till it closed. And when you walk in that place, like, it smells like an old hospital, like the formaldehyde and stuff like that. They still got there's still blood on the ceiling that's been spattered up there.
Wow.
Of course, it's dry. They still got one of the x-ray beds in there, but it's the only house that I've ever been in that I can say walk in it on command and be like, it'll run at you. You can feel the wind. It's insane. Definitely nerve wracking. As I was a skeptic on the house, thinking because it's leaning, that's probably why the balls are going to fall. Everything that should have fallen because the house was leaning didn't fall. It was everything opposite.
Yeah.
Really?
I think we did another podcast a couple times ago, and they talked about the Garnett House.
Yeah,
How
shout
they-
out to Patriot and Girls and Tim. They both talked about that.
Yeah.
And they all had similar experiences that you're talking about now.
Yeah, that house is
So-
no joke. That is, it's a little expensive. Things like $450 to rent it for like 18 hours.
Mhm.
But if you want to go get the crap scared out of you, definitely go on that one. Like it's wild. Other than that, I mean, I've got some new favorite ones. We just went to Coffeyville, Kansas, and we were the first paranormal team allowed inside the bank where the Dalton gang died at.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And so that one comes out, I think, in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that episode. But me and Chris are sitting upstairs on the second level. We're running SB7, and Chris is asking, like, who's here? Can you give me a name? And just plain as day, it's like Emmett Dalton,
Wow.
Grat Dalton, and then you hear Grat Dalton, like different voices,
2 different voices. Wow.
first and last name immediately. We had doors slam close on us. I mean, it was crazy cool.
It was wild.
Wow.
Wow. Have you guys ever done any like private residences, or has it always been like these pay to play type places?
I've done a private resident. It's actually on YouTube, and that's kind of a weird thing because the young lady was renting the house, and she no longer is alive now because of the house.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really weird. We do have an offer. I'm sitting here. I was looking at it earlier. We do have a couple out of Claremore, Oklahoma, that's wanting us to come to their house and investigate. And they've been adamant enough that they've made 3 separate attempts to come find me and give me their number and like, hey, we really need y'all up here.
Yeah.
So I need to contact them. But the story on this house is the gentleman that he took his life inside the house like 2 years ago. He had penile cancer and had to have it removed and went through a depression. And his brother brought a bunch of prostitutes over and to party out with him to try to make him feel better. And he did it while everybody was there.
Oh, wow.
And so, in the state of Oklahoma, I don't know how it is in other states, but in the state of Oklahoma, when you buy a house, they have to disclose if there's been a homicide or a death inside that house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're
So that's
supposed
how
to.
these people know. You're right. So that's how these people know. But, being paranormal investigators, and people are now finding out who we are, off of YouTube or social media, whether it be Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or whatever the platform is, and I'm sure y'all get the same thing where we run into people and they always have a ghost story. They always want to tell you, my house is haunted. So when you hear like a million different haunted house stories, like is everybody has a haunted house or a haunted doll or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just like, okay, but this one, when the people are actively hunting us down, be like, hey, we need y'all here. That's why I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to go do a house call.
Yeah. We do more privates than we do locations because our locations are so far out. We have to drive 10 hours just to do something that's interesting or fun. But people here in California are kind of tight-lipped. We've talked about that before. I don't know what it is. We do a couple of years ago, we got talked into doing a haunted walk with the local historical society, which was fun. Don't do a walking one. It's exhausting. So the next year they actually gave us a dedicated room to where we could just do a presentation. But it's kind of funny because people will come in and they just kind of eyeball you and really don't know what to expect. And some of them act like they're just like, oh, I don't believe in ghosts. But by the end of our presentation, they kind of meander up to the table and they kind of wait till it thins out. And then they'll come and talk to us about their experiences. So it's kind of funny. I don't know if that's how they are in your neck of the woods, but here, man, they're tight-lipped. It's hard to get them to open up. But we do more. We do more private homes, I guess you could say.
A lot of the people around here, like, you'll always get, well, this place is haunted, but they don't let anybody in there. Like,
yeah,
this is the experience that we've had, but you're not allowed to go check it out.
Yeah.
But maybe I can send you the number, and then they never get back to you. I've never really done any residences, but I have been called out to a nursing home that was about to open, and did an investigation for them that was pretty crazy.
It was about to open. So what was it before it was a nursing home?
It was a nursing home, but they had to go through and update it, and it changed owners.
Oh, okay.
And I guess the guy that was doing all the work was staying in the nursing home while he was fixing it.
Yeah, no, wouldn't do it. I've been fireman for a long time, responded to, 500,000 calls at nursing homes. I would not live in
Nope.
one voluntarily.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was great because he's like, there's only 2 wings, and he's like, man, I sleep here, which was right by the nurse's office, right in the middle. He's like, supposedly there was a basement that was all the way down on this wing that she went missing, and there was a cellar, and before they checked it, they filled it in with concrete, and then they built this wing over it. He's like, my dog will walk halfway down that hallway and sit down and stare down that hallway for hours.
Yeah.
Wow,
I was like,
that's funny.
okay, that's a little iffy. So
Yeah, I do caution people with private residences though, because we had a lady call us and I don't know, we kind of backed out. It was just a lot of strange calls, and yeah, you have to really do your homework when it comes to private residence.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I would go to a nursing home. I wouldn't be that scared.
But I've read, reading through your guys' bio and watching your stuff, like you have the right attitude with it, I believe. So, when somebody approaches you, whether it's a private residence or just any type of investigation, you have to, checks and balances, go into it, figure out what are people saying? Does it make sense? You kind of, you got to be that initial first response investigator. Right.
right.
And with this specific lady, it was just kind of, red flagged as kind of more of a mental health than a
Yeah.
paranormal type experiences, right?
Yeah.
As medical responders, like we've been there, done that, seen it, recognized it pretty quick, so we didn't go and do the investigation because I don't think it was paranormal.
Yeah.
But that kind of leads into what's the process that you take before you go do an investigation? Obviously, you're going to do the history research. You're going to kind of figure out what's happened there in the past. But what's the process that you guys take before you set the equipment up and turn the power on?
I normally try to do a lot of research about the location before I go. I'm sure Chris does too. And then normally when we're traveling, we'll discuss, what we learned about the location, because he may have learned something I didn't learn, and I may have, vice versa. I like to watch a ton of other people's episodes on YouTube to compare, try to say, okay, they're claiming this, they're claiming this. And then let's go see if this happens, because if you got too many positives, no negatives, then you kind of know that there's something going on there. But there's some of these locations I've been to that people are like, oh, this is so haunted. And you go there and it's like, this is a joke.
Yeah, that leads into like some people are a little over theatrical with things, right? And the idea is to not be theatrical. The idea is to point out the truth and bring out the actual activity the way it is. And what some people don't realize is sometimes we can sit there for 6 hours and have one little tiny thing happen, and it's really not that exciting. And sometimes, like you were talking about that house, everything can be happening. Right. So it's just kind of a crapshoot. But if you're a good investigator and you approach it properly, you can still share the story in the right way.
Right.
Using the paranormal. That's cool.
It's kind of like going to the Sally house. We went up to the Sally house back in the end of March. It was Chris's first time up there. It was my second. And so I told Chris, I was like, man, be ready. Have your camera ready. The moment that we walk in this house, stuff happens. And of course, we walking in, you can hear the walking and all this. And Chris just like, what? And I'm like, and of course, I'm like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, isn't that cool? Like, this is crazy. And, but once you figure out what's in the Sally house and who it is that's trying to act like Sally, and you address them, it changes the whole game. Like, it changes the whole outcome of the house.
Wow.
It is absolutely insane. It's like once you address the person, and it's in the episode. I'll just give it out. It's the Finney's, the guy that built the house. Mm-hmm. Once you address him and his wife and his son, is Michael Finney, the guy that built the Sally house. He died in the house, and his funeral was held in the house.
Wow.
And then his son was a doctor, and he died, and they had his funeral in the house. Wow. The wife, she died, but she didn't die in the house, and they didn't have her funeral in the house. But once you address them, like we set up the dead bell, and it was like, okay, is Dr. Charles here? Is Michael Finney here? Is Mrs. Finney here? And be like, 1 for yes, 2 for no. And separately, we call out 3 names. It was like ding, wait a couple seconds, ding, a couple more, and it was just perfectly timed. Like they're all like, yep, yep, yep. And, you know, you get all the information that you need. We did it, of course, downstairs on top of the pentagram, you know. We had a homemade Ouija board that we have built for a location. And so Chris went down there immediately and stuck it on that Ouija board for I think around 3:00. So by the time, 10:00 rolls around, is that like, Chris is kind of like, come on, dude, are you ready to get this going? And I'm thinking, bro, he has no idea. As soon as we call this out, it's just like, do. And it was. And even after we went to sleep and we ended the investigation, we still had things happening. Like Chris is waking up. He feels somebody getting in bed with him. Of course, I'm laying down. I'm half asleep. So I start hearing the door jiggle as I close my door and lock the door. And I'm thinking it's Chris getting up, having to pee in the middle of the night or something, you know, trying to find the bathroom. He thinks that I'm trying to come in his room. So we both hear, and it's like a door knock. Well, he sets up a game camera, you know, on the stairway, and it fires up, and you can hear it. You don't see anything, but you can definitely hear it.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
we're not real familiar with the bell thing. We don't ever use that. But maybe we could put a request in with one of our listeners. I know he's out there to use just a regular bell. So maybe next time you guys go back there, use a regular bell and let us know how that works.
Yeah,
Because everybody, we all use different tools and stuff like that. So we all have our favorites.
We've had that happen at that Caden's Curiosities, that museum that we're partnered with. We had the dead bell and other equipment, but we'd turned off the bell, and Caden has a regular bell that you physically have to touch.
Okay.
And we heard that thing go. We heard it go off, and it sets directly across from the Richard Ramirez letters.
Oh,
so
okay. Wow.
Caden has in his possession the actual handwritten letters from Richard Ramirez to a pen pal girl that had lived in Oklahoma.
He has a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I
sure.
looked him up somehow. I think he crossed my feed one time. I think I looked him up.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody that y'all probably want on your podcast and talk to.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah, I'm down to talk to anyone that's into collecting that stuff, because there's a stigma behind, the paranormal stuff. Like, people talk about Zach's museum and all those things, but then there's things that he has in his museum, and I'm sure your friend also, that isn't like super well known, popular, scary stuff. And that history has to be kept alive somehow, right? I mean, especially stuff like Ramirez. Like, some people, that guy's just too evil. Burn it all, get rid of it. I don't want to see it. Don't want it on Earth. But we gotta know our history so we can recognize it, not repeat it.
Yeah.
That investigation was crazy. We had set the REM pod on top of the letters, and you can watch it. That episode's out. That's the Caden's Curiosities Part 2. That's out right now. And every time that we walked towards those letters or mentioned those letters, the REM pod would light up, kind of act like it was like, stay away.
Yeah.
And it's out of everything in that museum.
It's like a school-age kid protecting his quiz, just guarding it. Like, don't look at my letters, get away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just going there and reading them, I won't even say what we read, because it would this video wouldn't get monetized or anything.
Yeah.
There's some he is definitely a sick, strange individual.
Oh yeah.
Like, in his letters, it would just, like, you read them, it's like, wow, like, who can make this up?
Zach Bagans, he has some really bizarre stuff in his museum that I would caution people to go check out, because it's pretty
right.
I think
pretty
he
bizarre.
does have some Ramirez stuff in there, some clothing. He also has what was the guy that was the clown? John Wayne Gacy.
He has
Gacy.
He has Ramirez's ashes.
Yes, that's what it is. And he's got
no, thank you.
Yeah, no. And the clown, he would paint clown portraits of himself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you've got a thing against clowns, and then you go into this room and it's, hand painted from, you're like, okay, there's that brings up a point too. Is like, how much of that activity from those types of objects do you guys think is those specific people coming through, or do they just carry so much heavy energy that it's attracting everything else?
I think when it's something like that it's, they put their time their energy, like it's like with the Ramirez letters, like there's pieces of him still on that paper because his palm was resting on that paper as he's writing, and each individual stroke is him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so when it comes
That's
to stuff like that, I have no doubt in my mind that there is some part of them, whatever it is, still attached to that piece of
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
Artifact.
never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, they're just kind of laying down their heart and soul. That's probably when they're the most honest with themselves, being as weird as they are.
Well,
Right.
whether
You know.
it's kind of hard to explain or really say, because you got things like that, like his letters or different objects that could, you know, that do hold the energy. But then, like at Caden's place, he actually has a full cadaver, a full body
Wow.
from the Oddfellows.
Wow.
So
Hmm.
we don't know if that was somebody that's been sacrificed or what. I don't know the full story. It's just you walk in there and that's what you see. It's like, yo, this is crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So then it makes you think, okay, since that body is there, is that spirit, or that, you know, is it still around that body wanting to protect those bones, or, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it could go either which way, you know, and that I do believe that there are bad entities and that can possess certain objects and, you know, linger around those objects for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have one of those.
Absolutely.
I do have one of those.
So what is one of those? What do you got?
Oh,
A cadaver. We were talking about
no,
cadaver.
no, I've got an object that I don't even like talking about. It's one of those things that when people have one of these, you don't really broadcast it, as it is so dangerous. Like,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
it is. I've been on the phone with Chris, like FaceTiming, and messed with this object, making fun of this object, and immediately just start gushing blood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it'll get you hurt.
Yeah.
But,
It's like we have kids, so like we don't do Ouija boards or anything like that. We don't.
no.
Those are just probably the minor objects that you could play with, but with big consequences.
So-
but
The
Yeah,
whole
those
Ouija
things-
board thing that we got was basically done on a dumb idea that just transpired.
That was a stupid idea.
So we went
that's how we
to,
live and learn. You know.
there's a abandoned school about an hour north of me that's been abandoned for quite a while. Well, the basketball floor is all tore up, and there are these little 1x6 pieces of maple or something. And John's like, you know, these would be pretty cool if you made like a spirit board out of it. And I was like, let's go get a bag. So we gathered enough pieces to roughly fit the same size, and then I found a design and then hand burned everything in it and glued it all together, and that's how that all came about.
And I take it worked then.
Oh, it
We've got
definitely
some-
works.
It worked.
Yeah, we have an episode that that's currently in production right now. It's been edited. It's at this location called Bird Creek School. It's an abandoned Indian school in Pawhuska,
Okay.
Oklahoma. It's super secluded. Matter of fact, I was sitting here as I still need to get these. Chris sends me a thing here probably about a month ago, and he's like, "Did you read this article?" And so he printed it out for me. And so I'm reading the article, and then I start looking at the pictures, and I'm like, dude, those are my pictures. I'm like, somebody stole my pictures. I was like, that's crap. I mean, at least they could have said something. And Chris is like, did you read it? And so I'm like, no, you know. So I go read the article, and it's about us finding
Oh,
the
wow.
school.
Oh,
And the article had came out. It says January 21st, 2026 on the My Family Travels is what it's called. But apparently they found our investigations on YouTube and watched it and made an article, and it's all about that school.
Wow.
But we had made that Ouija board, you know, specifically for that school. I came up with what I call the veil method, and we didn't get to do the full veil method because Caden was supposed to show up, and then he had other plans that interfered, so he couldn't show up for that investigation. But what we did was take the Ouija board and basically surround it with candles, like almost a full seance. And then I lined on the outside mirrors facing each other, creating a quad vortex with
Okay.
everybody playing the Ouija board inside. That episode's going to be crazy when that one comes out. We got
Yeah,
Zozo.
You're like
Zozo the
hitting
demon
all
came.
aspects of opening portals and gateways.
We definitely pushed the limits on that one a little too far.
And you said that was a Native American school?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's
Yeah,
something with that as well, because we're in California, so we're definitely on Native American land. So our investigations and things that we experience are way different than just your regular everyday investigation. There's just
Yeah.
things that you don't want to be doing and crossing over with each other and things like
Yeah.
that. And we've done a private investigation that we didn't charge for, and we didn't make a video out of it. It was just somebody that was having some issues. And we kind of got to the point where it might have been crossing. It came down to symbolism and maybe bringing certain
Yeah.
symbols to a sacred Native American area
Right.
that maybe in the spirit world that didn't go over so well.
Yeah, it turns out that that the Native American, spirits of that area didn't like the kind of Norse Viking symbolism that was put there. So we had to do some stuff to kind of work that out and make some offerings,
Oh,
do some
wow.
things. But and it solved the activity. But yeah, I mean, locally where we're at, I would say probably 95% of where we go, we have to take into account the fact that there's Native American stuff happening.
Yeah.
And I'm
For
sure
sure.
it's the same thing where you guys are at, right? It's pretty rich.
Oh, yeah.
Native American
It's
history
probably
here.
98, 99%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Oklahoma's the last, third from the last state that was, in the Union. The last two was, of course, Alaska and Hawaii. But
Yeah.
this being the old Indian Territory, one of our forts, the oldest town here in Oklahoma, was built in 1823. We didn't become a state until 1907. Of course, we got Belle Stars buried here. This is where she lived at, the Bandit Queen. You got the Dalton gang. They ran all through here where Chris at, where he lives at in that town. They got a place, a cemetery there, and they got a section called Boot Hill where they've got a couple outlaws buried there. And maybe about a mile half down the road from me is another outlaw named Blue Duck. He was the with the Quantrill Raiders and all that rode with Frank and Jesse.
Wow.
And stuff. So, which is pretty cool, in Oklahoma. There's a lot of Native and Old West history, but especially Native, like Chris was talking about. Weekend before last, we took the big trip on a Sunday, and the cemeteries we went to, I took him to the cemeteries that were of all the deceased from the Killers of the Flower Moon book, and which is also the same movie that Martin Scorsese had came out with. And that is the birth of the FBI. That's how the FBI was invented, was over these Native people getting murdered for their oil rights and mineral rights and money in a small town called Pawhuska, Oklahoma. And it is probably the sickest, darkest, twisted story that you'll ever read, because once all these white folks had started to eliminate all the Native American, then they started going killing their own kind, their own kids, because they were afraid that their children were going to get their inheritance.
Oh, wow.
So they went it's insane what happened. And
What is
then
that
when
called?
you get,
Write that down.
it's the Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
my
worth
mom always
checking
says we're Oklahoma Indian, but we're Comanche, so I don't know if that's Oklahoma. I'm not enough
Yeah,
to claim to be Indian, but my ancestors, I think, are Comanche.
So yeah, there's Comanche. I'm Native American. My last name's Creekmore. I'm Cherokee, all the way down to the part that I actually have an ID. Our tribes actually have an ID with our blood degree on the back of it.
Yeah, I'm probably a freckle of Native American.
So that's what I'm always joking, because I came out so white. I'm like, man, I can't get a paper cut. I might bleed all the Indian out of me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's actually a house in southern Oklahoma that was Quanah Parker's house, which was one of the what was he, like the last warrior chief of the Comanches?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think that's right. And Comancheria was basically all of southwestern Oklahoma and the northern part of Texas around there. So, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I want to.
Yeah,
someday
matter
I'll
of
look
fact,
into that side of my ancestry. We'll see someday. But I would like.
it's
to get back
definitely
there.
worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that fort that I was talking about that was built in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. The reason why the U.S. Army came there and built that fort was to stop the Cherokees from killing all the other Indian tribes. The Cherokees were going through just massacring them.
Yeah.
And so the U.S. government had to intervene and build a fort. And then that backfired. The Cherokees took it over and took out all the soldiers at that fort and ran that fort.
So what
So
is your thoughts on shapeshifters then?
I I wasn't a believer until I got one on film, and it's on
Okay.
YouTube, like a
Alright.
skinwalker. So being Native is like a lot of people like, oh, we're afraid of looking at owls. But being a Native American, I grew up around all the lores and the stories and stuff. But the old investigator that I had with me, we were actually at Bird Creek at that school that we were
Okay.
just talking about. And he's sitting on the stage, and I'm sitting probably about 15, 20 feet in front of him. And I'm pointing my camera because it's a single schoolhouse, just one room, big old schoolhouse. So I'm pointing down, looking at the end of it. The old guy sitting behind me on the stage, he turns around and he's got his camera, and he never tells me what's going on. He's filming it, but he actually on camera, he's like, man, there's something glowing out there. Well, we ended the investigation. We're driving back to Tulsa, and I'm like, dude, I just don't feel like we got enough evidence. We're probably going to have to make a return out there and make a 2-part series out of this episode. I was like, I just don't have conclusive evidence yet.
Yeah.
So we go back out there and film. Then after that, I came back and sat down to do the editing process. So I'm reviewing all the footage. And after I reviewed the footage of the first investigation, I didn't even need the second one.
Yeah.
But he straight catches, and you can see it on the episode. It's the strangest thing. You can see these two glowing eyes. You see a dark figure, and it walks behind the tree to our car, back from the car to the tree. Then it gets behind the tree, sticks its head out, like straight hunting us, And I really hope it was a skinwalker or some kind of entity doing that, because if not, that was a human. We were being hunted, and that's that's a bad feeling knowing that is where Bird Creek's at. You're at least 9 to 12 miles out away from the city in the middle of nowhere. If something happens to you at this place, if you get bit by a snake, you're not making it.
Yeah. We get more ran off by
so
bears and
simple.
cougars. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wildlife.
this place has been, it's in the process of basically being reclaimed by Mother Nature. Like,
okay.
if you
Yeah.
didn't know it was there, you would smooth drive right by it. The vegetation is just that thick, and this building was abandoned years and years and years ago, and it doesn't leak. It's not crumbling. Like,
Yeah, it's
it's
weird.
just a super
Wow.
weird building.
Wow.
The building's alive. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely worth checking out. Don't go out there by yourself. Any of y'all that are watching this and find out where Bird Creek's at, and y'all go out there, do not go by yourself.
Yeah. That's probably the most
Yeah.
dangerous thing you can do on any investigation, whether it's like that or it might even seem like the most simplest thing, but yeah, always take somebody.
Yeah, you gotta be prepared on all fronts.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird place. it's a weird place. I've got several episodes out on our YouTube channel of going there, and then I took Chris there. After I met Chris, I was like, dude, I got to take you to school. And we went there, and then at the end of that investigation, I'm like, good, we're done. I don't want to ever come back to this place again. And he's like, I don't think, and then it was like, crap, I think you're right. I think we're going to have to go back. And then after this time, it was like, all right, this is the final time. I don't want to go back to Bird Creek. This is like the 7th or 8th time I've been up there, and it's the same results. And it just keeps getting darker and darker and darker every time you go there. And then, of course, Caden from Caden's Curiosities, he couldn't show up. So it was like, crap, now we got to go back again. Take Caden there. But
It's funny. Wow.
yeah, it's a wild place.
Well, if you guys ever make it to California, let us know. We'll take you to Mount Shasta, California. I'll let you look that up yourself, because we have everything from giants to aliens to shapeshifters.
Shapeshifters, Bigfoot.
It's all here.
It's all there. Yeah.
Heck
I
yeah.
definitely want to get up, and I want to do a Bigfoot episode. I'd like to go see if we can find the world's most famous hide and seek champion.
Yeah, well, we're working on that. That's going to be one of our next things that we're kind of waiting on right now. We might just have to go show up where we're going. So, but yeah.
The alien thing, I think an alien episode or UAP or UFO episode would be cool. One of the other investigators that Chris and I have with us, his name's Jeff Maddox. Jeff and I had went to a cemetery to debunk and tell the real story of a grave. They have this place in Skytook, Oklahoma. It's called the Witch's Grave. And the story is that this guy died, and his wife was a witch, and she dug his body up 3 or 4 times, and they finally they concreted his his casket over with this big mound of concrete. And then you go there and do the research, and you find out that his name's Abel Parkhill, and his wife died 4 years before he did. So if she's dead, how is she digging his body up?
Yeah.
You know, so all these people around on YouTube and around this side of Oklahoma is like, oh, the witch's grave, and it's a great story. It sounds really cool, but my primary goal, just for myself, is like Chris, is when we go these investigations, is to tell the real truth, bring the real history to this,
Absolutely.
give a solid investigation. You know, we're not going to sit there and jump and scream and act like wild turkeys. You know, now there's times that I'll jump and stuff. Chris will see me run a couple times.
So who screams more, you or him?
Probably me. And it's normally probably a hard F-bomb, like, what the F, man, you got to see this. Or I'm like, no.
Yeah,
But
we
then you just
don't
see me
generally
running.
get too excited, but when you do, it's generally probably the same thing. It's an F-bomb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually
Yeah.
coming from me. So
well, you're never expecting it. It's kind of like for instance, we were up in Coffeyville and the door closed on me. I'm sitting there and I'm doing like a little TikTok live, or no, I think I was on Facebook Live. And I turn over, and right when I'm scanning out that door, the door's like swam, and I was like, nope. And I've got stairs to go down, so like all you see is a camera just jiggling down the stairs, and I'm like, Chris, where are you at? But it's kind of, you know, it startles you and it scares you, but it's one of those things that I'm like, man, I need my buddy here to witness this. He needs to see this too, because I was like, when I'm telling him, like, bro, I had a door slam on me. Chris, like, come on, man. I'm like, dude, that door slammed on me, bro. And then about 2.5 hours, 3 hours later, him and Jeff are right by the same door. The door's open and boof. And then they're like, dude, that door closed on me. And I'm like, come on. I know.
wow.
How much of your kind of past with, you know, law enforcement and military do you think is kind of, you know, subconsciously trained you to have kind of not so much of a violent reaction to things, or kind of desensitize you to the crazy crap that just happens?
It just kind of, it's like I don't know. For me, it's more like a tactical sense, like playing it out in my head, like what it could be. How can I figure out what this was? And then when you go back and you're kind of like, I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
And then go and get John's input. Hey, this happened. What do you think that was?
Yeah.
And then you're both just kind of sitting there scratching your head going, I don't know.
And then it happens when both y'all are sitting there. Like, me and Chris are probably like a crap magnet to paranormal stuff. Like, we'll both see it, and then when we're together, it's like, and you can always see the genuine, like on our episodes, like something will happen to both of us will be like looking at each other, like what? Like, but you know, then it kicks in to the law enforcement. It's kind of like when we do our walkthrough. It's kind of like when you go clear a building, you're kind of skittish at first if you don't have your your tool belt on, you know.
Yeah.
But as soon as I get like a spirit box or a K2, it's like, it's just the light switch, and I'm like, yo, it's like I'm going really clearing out the building. It's like, where are you at? I'm finding you. Come talk to me. You know, it's an investigation. I'm not leaving until we got something. You know, I need to figure out what's up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm always curious to kind of talk with other people that are, you know, have backgrounds like you guys do, because, you know, with the first responder background with us, it's like the average everyday person really hasn't lived or experienced certain stresses, right? Making spur of the moment decisions and things like that, right? But those of us that have, it's like it affects, at least I've known from our standpoint, like something will happen back over here. I'll hear it, I'll see it, I'll react to it, but I'm kind of focused. So it's like you were saying, Chris, like the tactical awareness. And I was just kind of curious of how much of that kind of affects how you approach investigations.
Yeah, situational awareness plays a big part in all of it, because I know, especially with the Sally house, the last thing you want is the noise downstairs and then run and knock yourself out trying to get down the stairs. So, and then knowing where everything's at, so you can like approximate where the sound came from, where you have a good idea of what's going on, where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really smart too to know your surroundings of your location too.
Right.
You know, do a little bit of studying. You know, it's real simple. I mean, we got the power of Google at our hands. You know, if you're going to a town, just Google that town, start reading some of the ratings, and look at the local news and see, you know, if it's troubled areas. If you're investigating a place that might have high traffic, a lot of cars, a lot of people walking by. things like that. Like when you get to Sally House, there is a Christian college, or I think a Catholic college, just maybe 2-3 blocks up the road from there. So all those kids are walking by.
Yeah.
So, and they're real interested to see if somebody's in the house doing an investigation, because, the lights are all off. And of course, you're just seeing flashlights, going through a house. So a lot of people will come up and literally try to look in the windows while you're in there investigating. So you definitely have to, it is, but you have to take that. It really is. It really is. And, but you got to take that in consideration, because you got to realize, hey, it's a high traffic area. What sounds that we may think that's resonating inside this building just may be from outside. It's just the acoustics, messing with you, or like Chris saying, using your tactical senses of going in. There's a lot of these places. I mean, y'all know as well as we do, we go in these places and everybody on TV, they get to watch it like it's colored or colorized in black and white, and they don't realize that we're there in the pitch black, and you're having to let your eyes adjust to different lights, and then you're using your senses and your hearing, and then that opens your body up to, for more senses. And that's what enables you to feel the touches and the cold and airs. And, it's, I tell people all the time, the main equipment that you can have is your eyes and your ears. That's the best paranormal equipment that you can have, is your eyes and the ears. After that, get you a camera so you can capture it and document it so people will believe it. And then after that, then use all your little specialty cool stuff like your K2s. But your eyes and ears are the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you have a bad feeling, you're trusting your gut. We all have that gut instinct. It's like, okay. But half the time I don't listen to mine. It's like, this is bad. This is bad. It's like, let's do it. Then after we do it,
sometimes you have to take that intuition and go, okay, I'm going to ignore this to a certain level, right? I'm not going to completely ignore my gut feeling, but I'm going to ignore it to a certain level and just baby step forward so I can try to capture some evidence and see what's going on and answer the deep questions that we all have. So if people aren't willing to kind of do that a little bit, you're not going to be able to push yourself into some of those kind of freaky areas in order to actually maybe get some answers.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like in law enforcement
that require quite a bit of nerve, and it's you just gotta have that mental fortitude enough to push it and go, I can do this. There's somebody in the next room. They're just a phone call away. I've got this.
Yeah.
And then
I have yet to sit alone in a room. Yeah, I have yet to sit alone in a room. I right now I just can't do it. Just can't do it.
It's a little bit different level though for you being an empath.
Yeah.
Right. So that that's some different feelings. It's a little bit more intense.
Yeah.
Than me sitting in a room by myself.
It's a little weird
sometimes. Intense. But there's a lot of things that me and Chris, we try to switch off, and there's times that we will purposely split up on an investigation and not even really think about it. It's just like we're off doing our own thing. We're still going to meet back up, and then it's like when we went to Coffeyville, it's like, hey, I'm going to go up there, then let's send Jeff up there, and then let's send you up there. But there's some places that I'm just like, I don't want to go there. And then Jeff, he went there. We were at Coffeyville, and they have an actual old, like the way the heat of the building's like an old furnace, like brick oven furnace, like you can walk in. Yeah. And Jeff's like, I want to do my Estes method in there. And I'm like, you're dumb. Like, no, that's not where we do one at, bro. Freddy Krueger's been in that thing, dude. We don't go in there.
Yeah, right.
But even when he went to Estes, that's the best part is he's blindfolded, and I'm just like, I just walk off and leave him in there, because that's the best part is when you walk off, it makes whatever that is there, maybe they're thinking that other person is feeling vulnerable, and they can try to, manipulate or, the spectrum, the frequencies, try to break through and make contact with us, But, like I was saying, I try to take some stuff kind of like a law enforcement, we're really good at pushing people's buttons to try to find out the information that we need for the investigation to take place. So if you don't really push the envelope and, dance on that fine line and just try to push a little bit more, you may not find out what's really going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Wow, man, our conversation was so good. I didn't realize that we were kind of pushing our time limit that we have here. So yeah, it's really cool. So where can people find you, and what do you have coming up that you want to shout out for people to go check out?
Definitely find us on YouTube, Into the Veil Paranormal. You can just put in Into the Veil. You'll see our little logo. It looks like a green logo. Subscribe there. It's absolutely free to subscribe. The next episode I will drop this upcoming Wednesday. It's the Sally House episode, where Chris and I make a return back to Sally House, or I make a return his first trip up there. After that, we have I try to drop everything on Wednesdays each week. So every week I want a new episode coming out, some new investigations. So we got Sally House coming out. Then we have Bird Creek coming out. And then after that, we have the Coffeeville. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and put the footage together of the nursing home that Chris went and investigated.
Nice.
I couldn't make that one. I had to work that night. But the cool thing is Chris called me and we got to do some FaceTime. So we got the FaceTime, footage and all that. And it really was, because it's kind of one of those remote. It's my first time to ask questions remotely, and we're getting answers.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Cool.
But yeah, definitely YouTube, Into the Veil, Facebook, Into the Veil Paranormal, good old TikTok, the social media stuff. I mean, if you got it, we're probably there. But
Nice.
definitely
Right
find us,
on.
subscribe, help us out. Thank you for letting us have this opportunity and come on your show with you.
Well, thanks for
Absolutely.
coming, and
Yeah,
I
thanks.
love talking to anybody and everybody about paranormal stuff. So good conversation. So
And we always want to do it again, so we're gonna have to do this again.
yeah,
Absolutely.
everybody,
Definitely,
we're
definitely.
gonna reinvite.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of stuff. Hang out, and we'll talk to you here in a minute. All right,
Okay.
guys?
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank
you. Where are we at here? All right. That was awesome. That was good talk.
Well, Into the Veil, man. Good guys. Like the way they investigate. And I'm looking forward to seeing their episode. Check them out Wednesday. The new episode comes out. So yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be pretty booked up for the month of June. So I think the first Sunday for the first 3 Sundays, we're gonna have the same podcast, different people.
Yep.
5 o'clock. I'll have that flyer up on our Facebook. So watch out for that. And like, subscribe, share our channel. Share Into the Veil.
Yeah. Go check them out too. Subscribe to them. Watch out all their cool stuff.
Yeah, we always want to support each other in the paranormal community. So, all right.
All right.
Toodles.